The bar was loud with weakened confidence and half-truths. Yet everything shifted the moment a quiet figure stepped through the door. No one sensed the storm she carried in her calm stride. No one knew that the woman who just walked in once earned a name whispered across entire battlefields. Tonight, she only wanted a seat in the corner in silence after a long deployment. Asterisk, what city are you watching from today? If this story resonated with you, hit subscribe for more real stories about extraordinary people. Her name was Mara Hawley, recently returned from a mission no one on this coast would ever read about. She wore a simple jacket and tired eyes. Most of the crowd assumed she was a junior recruit or someone waiting for a friend. She preferred it that way. The weight she carried was not meant for public display. She had learned long ago that people treated her like a weapon instead of a person once they found out who she really was. She sat at the bar and nodded to the bartender. He recognized her face, but not her story. The bar had seen soldiers of every type, but Mara rarely stayed long enough to be known. Tonight was different. She was trying to quiet the memories that chased her every time she closed her eyes. She asked for a soda instead of anything stronger because she knew her mind needed clarity, not escape. A group of off-duty servicemen sat a few stools away. Their voices rose with each joke. They were good people with good hearts, but they were young enough to believe toughness came from loudness. One of them noticed Mara and grinned with the kind of curiosity that often led to trouble. He walked over, shoulders squared with borrowed courage. He looked at her uniform jacket. He saw no obvious rank. He assumed she was someone to impress or tease. A harmless spark in a loud night. He leaned on the counter and smiled. The bartender approached Mara to hand her drink, and the young serviceman smirked. He nudged the bartender with his elbow and said in a joking tone, "Hey man, what's your call sign?" "I bet she wants to know." Mara lifted her eyes, calm and unreadable. The bartender laughed politely, trying to lighten the tension. He answered, "Call sign? I don't have one. I just serve drinks." The serviceman laughed louder and turned to Mara. "What about you? You got a cool nickname or something?" She inhaled slowly. The air felt heavy with assumptions. She had spent years hiding from the name others gave her, but hearing mockery aimed at someone who had done nothing wrong stirred something protective inside her. Another soldier from the group joined in. "Yeah, come on. Tell us? You look too serious not to have one." Mara kept her tone steady. "I have one, but I do not use it here." That simple answer should have ended the conversation. Instead, curiosity grew faster than common sense. A third soldier joined, and soon all eyes from that table were on her. The bartender sensed the tension and gently tried to redirect them, but the young men were already caught in the playful challenge. "What is it then?" "We will not judge," one said. Mara set her drink down. She had avoided this conversation for years, but hiding who she was had created distance between her and the world. The memories of those she served beside came back with a force that felt like responsibility. Her call sign was not something she had chosen. It was earned in the worst conditions a human could face. It carried the echoes of people she had promised to honor. She spoke clearly, without pride or anger. "My call sign is Battle Saint." The bar fell silent. Conversation softened into whispers. The servicemen froze as if the air had tightened around them. Battle Saint was not just a name. It was a legend repeated among special operations teams. Some believed she was a myth. Others swore she had carried injured teammates through gunfire more times than anyone could count. Every version of the story described someone unstoppable, calm under terror, and fiercely protective of those who relied on her. The bartender stared at her with widened eyes. He placed a hand on the counter to steady himself. "Mara, you are that Battle Saint." She nodded once. "I prefer Mara." The young servicemen stepped back in disbelief. They had joked with the very person whose actions had saved entire units. The weight of their assumptions hit them with unexpected clarity. The first soldier who approached her adjusted his stance awkwardly. His voice dropped to a respectful tone. "Ma'am, we did not know. We never would have spoken like that if we knew." Mara shook her head. Respect should not rely on rank or reputation. It should be given freely. That is the lesson I learned the hard way. The group swallowed their embarrassment with quiet sincerity. They were not bad men. They were simply young and unaware of how deep some shadows could go. Mara's calm presence forced them to see beyond their bravado. They suddenly understood that strength was not loud. Strength was controlled, disciplined, and rooted in something deeper than pride. The bartender stepped closer and lowered his voice. "It is an honor to have you here. You never stay long. You can stay as long as you like tonight." She offered a faint smile, one that held both gratitude and weariness. "Thank you. I just wanted a quiet place to remind myself that the world is still peaceful in some corners." The bar regained its rhythm slowly, but the energy had changed. People whispered her call sign like a piece of history passing through the room. The servicemen who had teased her returned to their table more thoughtful than before. They raised their glasses in her direction, not as an apology, but as a sign of respect for someone who had stood in darkness so they could laugh in safety. Mara finished her drink and stood up. On her way out, the first soldier approached her again. "Thank you for correcting us. And for everything else." "I mean that." She met his gaze, acknowledging his sincerity. "Carry yourself with humility. That is how legends are born." She stepped into the cool night air. The world was quiet, and for the first time in months, the silence felt peaceful instead of heavy. She knew the battles ahead would test her again, but she also knew moments like tonight mattered. They reminded her that even the strongest warriors were still human beings searching for meaning in a chaotic world. As she walked away, she held her head high. She was not running from her call sign anymore. She was learning how to live with it without letting it define her. Battle Saint was her past. Mara was her present. The future could hold both without contradiction. And somewhere behind her, in that small bar filled with loud voices and restless hearts, a group of young soldiers learned that respect is the first step toward becoming the kind of person the world quietly depends on. What did this story make you feel? Where are you watching from? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.